All right, well, we all know what Vice President Dick Cheney's had to say lately about Iraq and his criticisms of the president. But some of the criticisms, in fact, have not been met well. You'd expect it from Democrats, but even some Republicans aren't too crazy about the former VP being as loud as he's been. From the scathing op-ed piece that Cheney wrote here along with his daughter in the Wall Street Journal to countless TV interviews, Cheney seems to be getting a kick out of ripping this president for his response to the crisis overseas.
They're still living back in the day when they claimed we got bin Laden, terrorism problem solved. That wasn't true then. It's even less true today. The threat is bigger than it's ever been. The danger of nuclear proliferation in the hands of terrorists is bigger than it's ever been. We need to dramatically reverse course on our defense budget. We're decimating the defense budget, not al-Qaeda. We need to go back to a two-war strategy, not the one-war strategy that he's put in place.
Now, Cheney's criticism has also, as you'd figure, made for easy late-night TV. Antics have been given The Daily Show a whole lot of material.
There he is, America's tragedy herpy. Dick Cheney. All right. Dick Cheney, tell us how we've done everything wrong since you left office, and if you would, do it from in front of a Sears portrait studio backdrop whilst your Sith apprentice stands in an eerie silent vigil.
They've all had a lot of fun with this one, but what I found real interesting was you got the Rand Pauls and the rest saying, just stand down. You're not helping here. Maybe some of the real neocons like what you're selling here, Mr. Vice President, but nobody is chiming for us to send ground troops back into Iraq, and nobody thinks for a second that this president didn't inherit your mess. Even Republicans are saying enough already, while some of the hardline conservatives say, go on, Vice President. I know how the country feels about this, but in Republican circles, is he doing more harm than good, or is this a perfect attack dog against the president?
Mr. Cheney, the vice president, he's giving raw meat to the base. That's what he's doing. They know this president is on the ropes. They have effectively Jimmy Carter, this president. And frankly, it's starting to look like the best thing that can happen to President Obama is for his tenure to come to an end, because they are not, they have fixed the game, and then he took all the blame. And so Cheney steps forward and says, divert, don't look at me, even though me and my boys started this, and me and my boys are the ones that get rich off of this.
Fair enough, though, Don. But even Fox News, I mean, I saw even Megyn Kelly going after Vice President being like, time out here. You guys went in there. We didn't find those WMDs here. You didn't get it done the right way. Let's not exactly sit from the sidelines and say he messed up this perfect hand you dealt him. So I just don't know if it's a good political play on the part of Cheney for the Republican Party even. They certainly have a vulnerable president, a vulnerable Democratic Party in the midterms. This is an easy way out, I think, for the administration to be like, look who's talking.
Well, but to this point, in fact, I think this enrages the Democratic base further.
That's true.
That he's out there, one, acting so un-vice presidential. And to me, I mean, I'm a person who cares about that. I think there's tremendous respect for the institution. I don't think it's appropriate when you've left office in this such a high position to be throwing out your opinion, right, wrong, he did this. No.
And let's give credit to President Bush. President Bush has been mum on the side.
Absolutely.
He's only been supportive of the president. So, I mean, I really appreciate that.
He doesn't even have to be supportive, yeah. Richard, that's my point. But you have to be appropriate and professional and dignify the office. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly undignified, and it allows Democrats, rank and file Democrats, to say, wait a minute, this president is having a hard time. He's not popular. We're not going to sit back and let this guy take these pot shots when he bears a huge amount of responsibility for the mess.
Well, I'm glad everyone at the table agrees that Obama is not handling this well. But, you know, from a political standpoint,
I said Republicans have Jimmy Carter him. That's what I said.
There's the message and the messenger, and I agree that he has not been the greatest messenger on this issue. And
but it doesn't come across as delusional.
No, he's making a lot of valid points, but I think
what valid point?
About how the president's handled Iraq and what's going on there right now. But the issue is that he has made his own mistakes. So I think
Just to be clear, you would have kept more troops and sent more troops like he thinks, so we should have a two-pronged war in Iraq?
There were
Afghanistan?
several mistakes that President Obama made, including announcing the exact dates of the troop withdrawal and others that have led to this situation. How
Just
he
so I'm
handled
clear,
Syria,
do you believe that
how he
Cheney-
handled Iran. I'm not saying that he's not blameless in all of
okay.
this. I'm
Thank
saying
you.
there's the message and
Okay.
the messenger, and he's not the best person
Let me
to
get to
carry out
another.
what's an effective
This is not
message.
even a partisan thing. This is on both sides. Both parties have done this over time. But the most common example right now has happened in New Hampshire, or Scott Brown. You remember him from Massachusetts. Well, now he's running for Senate in New Hampshire, and he got a boost to his campaign today, although it kind of reinforced maybe some of the biggest challenges. Republican from Massachusetts being endorsed by a former Massachusetts native, Mitt Romney. However, again, Brown is running for Senate in New Hampshire. Now, there's a lot of examples. Even today, look at Sean Eldridge. He's running for Congress in New York's 19th Congressional District, including parts of the Hudson Valley and the Catskills in there. And he's going after Chris Gibson, who's the incumbent. Eldridge, born in Canada, raised in Ohio, hasn't really been in the market, or certainly that area, very long. He was labeled a carpetbagger. I can go to Hillary Clinton, who faced some of the same challenges when she ran for Senate in New York. Also in New York, you've got Bobby Kennedy, who faced some of those same claims when he ran as a Massachusetts native, et cetera. How about that? Is there a legitimate point to be made? Timeout. You're not even from here. You don't know the area. You don't know the constituencies. It's legal. Okay, you meet the residency requirements in the case of Brown in New Hampshire, but is it right?
I really think it's a case-by-case basis. It depends on the geographic locations, and it depends on the candidates. You know, I have a lot of family from the Boston area, and New Hampshire is very close. You know, they view it as a next-door neighbor. Romney did very well in New Hampshire. He had the home there, but they sort of view each other as neighbors. So I don't know that
Massachusetts does. I don't know if New Hampshire wants to be labeled as like a suburb of Massachusetts.
Well, but they're interconnected. So, you know, I don't know that it'll be an issue in this case. With Hillary, it was an issue initially in the campaign, but she was able to overcome it. And I think if you can show that you're in touch with the needs of the people in the area where you're running, they're likely to forgive it a little bit.
I agree. I think it really, it depends on the candidate. Hillary was able to diffuse it. She went around and did that listening tour. She made people feel like, you know, I don't have to have lived here, but I need to have understood what you are talking about, and I'm going to make it my business to understand. And I have to say, on local elected politics, and I'm sure we both know this, you have to be able to be authentic in the district that you're running in.
But you'd hammer somebody if they were running against you and they moved there 6 months early. You'd be like, what does this guy know about the market?
Would, but I think voters make a judgment based on the authenticity and the legitimacy of the candidate more than this carpetbagger label. It's a useful tool in politics, but I'm not sure that voters are particularly persuaded if it's a good candidate.
You agree?
I don't think it matters much anymore. I think it depends on case-by-case basis, depends on the popularity of the individual. It was the media with Hillary that more threw that charge around because she didn't give the media access. We were part of it. That's what the media was really upset about.
Don't be listening to her. I got so mad about that. Oh,
but
schlepping all over New York. You don't even get to ask questions.
Okay,
yeah.
but she got elected to the Senate, and now she's a heartbeat away from being the Democratic nominee for president. So in Scott Brown's case, I don't think it's going to work at all. He's very popular in that area. They just
same
push it
media
away.
market. You know, you saw it play out in the congressional race in the North Country, the GOP primary between Matt Doheny and Elise Stefanik. They tried to label her as someone being outside the district, and it didn't work.
If you don't have money, Richard, then it's a problem.
If you help me without even knowing it, the money question. When we come back here, I want to ask about money, and again, no illegality. This is about outside income, and when you're talking about being a statewide official or even representing a district here in the capital area. So my question is it unseemly? Is it wrong? Is it just reality? Is it just the way the system works? We're going to be talking about that when we come back.